Welcome to episode 154 of the Twim Show. This is your host Sajid Islam, and today I'll be going over the notable news and updates in the digital marketing space from the week of March 27th through 31st, 2023. So, first off, I just want to share with you that Twitter has released their source code. Basically, it's Elon Musk had suggested earlier in March that he's going to publish the code that shows how Twitter does its ranking and how they decide, you know, which content to show first, who needs to show get you know visibility ahead of every other contents. Now, I understand this is a show about marketing, so you could probably be wondering, hey, Sajid, why are you talking about Twitter source code? What does it have to do with marketing? And I would say everything, right? Because Twitter is a social platform, and if you kind of if you wrap your head around how Twitter works, it will probably be also helpful in terms of how maybe Facebook works or Google works and things like that, right? To an extent. I mean, they're not going to be exactly replica. Now, Twitter published the source code. Obviously, they didn't do a whole lot of stuff in terms of what data set and all the like sample data set and all the other stuff. But there are smart people out there on the internet, and one such person is Peter Yang, and he actually tweeted. And one of the things that we understood from his tweet, from after he has looked at the source code, is that likes and retweets are by far the most significant indicator of interest to Twitter. So if you put a status up on Twitter, and if people are liking it or retweeting it, then obviously that's going to really boost you up or bump you up on the feed. Now, how you use this information is you're probably going to go ahead and create content or have your team create content where they explicitly say, hey, like this tweet or retweet or do some kind of engagement. Because I know, in the Clubhouse world, the way it identifies interest is how many people are joining into a room. So a lot of hosts on Clubhouse, they warm up the room, right? What they do is they kind of grab some of their friends, and they've built small communities of saying, hey, this is the Sajid gang or the Sajid community. So they say, okay, every time Sajid goes up online in Clubhouse, 5 of us are going to come online, and then when Mary goes online, the 6 of us are going to come online. So they all come up online and they reshare, retweet, and kind of manufacture that growth, like organic virality, and then eventually they invite other people and then they kind of show up. So it's good to know that, and people have figured it out on Clubhouse to increase the reach. Now for Twitter, it's obviously much easier now that Twitter has published the source code. Now, however, they can always change it next month. So keep that in the back of your mind. The other thing, what we found out from the source code is that Twitter Blue subscribers tweet gets 2 to 4 times the boost, right? So if you are a non-Twitter Blue user versus a Twitter Blue user, which basically means you have to pay for that, like about $12, $13 a month. Because you're paying, your tweet gets a higher priority over a non-paying user. So, which makes sense. Again, Elon Musk wants to make money, but, if Twitter is your game, because Twitter has some unique advantages over other platforms. And I've covered this in the past, which is, because a lot of big advertisers have jumped ship from Twitter might be a good strategy for you to try out, test it out, and see whether you get better ROI or not. Now, obviously, Twitter is not going to work out for everyone. So you have to keep that in mind. Again, go with an experiment mindset, go with the curiosity, try things out, put some, $2, $5, $10,000 into the system, see what kind of results you get, analyze it, and kind of see the report and go from there. Okay, that's on the paid side. And again, on the, non-paid side, I kind of shared some of the stuff, the link to the Twitter the Peter Yang's tweet is in the show notes, and also there is a Twitter published a layman's explanation of how the Twitter algorithm recommendation engine works, or ranking algorithm works. You can kind of read about it if you want to really geek out. With that, let's move into the Google front. Google released again a 2022 ad safety report. Again, you could just say, Sajid, why do I care? How is that going to help you? It really doesn't help you a whole lot, especially if you're a business owner. But at least for our level, we need to know this information because it helps us to keep our clients protected and kind of look at some of the stuff that Google is doing that may or may not get our client into trouble. So the highlights are Google blocked about 5.2 plus billion. That's a billion with a B ads in 2022. In 2021 they removed about 3 billion ads, so that's like a 2 billion jump from 2021 to 2022. That's a lot of ads that they blocked. And Google also restricted 4.3 plus billion ads in terms of from running them, right? So there's one is blocked, other one is running them. And Google suspended 6.7 plus million advertiser accounts. Yes, that's how many advertisers got into trouble. That's in 1 year. Can you imagine that? Now, you could be wondering, hey, I am not doing anything bad. I'm not doing anything dodgy. Why should I care about this? Folks, listen. It all comes down to a lot of stuff, right? So few reasons, key reasons why some of those ads were blocked or accounts were, removed was like obviously, there were trademark violations, legal requirements were not met, misrepresentation with promotions, and then oftentimes there other things happen. Landing page not, reachable. Your site got hacked, and you have what is it called? Viruses, malware, spyware, whatever it is. You're trying to dupe someone else. A lot of things happen. Now, you as a business owner may not be doing this. You might end up hiring someone who's incompetent or who is like, a little bit in the, likes to play in the gray areas and might do things behind your back without your knowledge, which will get you banned or get you offboarded, and you not even knowing it. And then you're going to be like, oh shit. And then folks, listen, I am not making this up. We had a client back in the early days, like back in 2017, middle 2017, where this client got into a lot of trouble in the past because of, he had a, office guy who said he knew how to run Google Ads, ran Google Ads, got their account canceled and banned and all sorts of trouble, right? So I'm not making this up. I'm not a person who likes to push fear tactics or push scarcity or push all this negative stuff, but it happens so much so that I want to bring it up and make you cognizant of this kind of stuff happening, why it's in your best interest to work with reputable agency, reputable people, even if it's a little bit cost you a little bit more. Have someone who is on the state side or in where you live, where you operate, so that you know this person, you build a relationship, versus this fly-by-night operations who does something and just vanishes away, and now how are you going to chase them in a different country, right? So with that, all I want to say is that Google does all sorts of all this stuff of enforcement, like 5.2 billion ads, 6.7 million advertiser accounts. It's like they're relying a lot on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So obviously they also do ad review every time you publish and edit and modify an ad. So it's a combination of a lot of stuff, but I just want you to know that I know you don't intentionally want to do it, but even if you don't do it, that's not a good enough excuse, right? You need to make sure your team or your agency, your expert is doing right by you, and they're competent enough to keep on tabs of things like what kind of stuff can get us in trouble. So they have to stay on top of the ad requirements, the policies, things like that, so that everything is kosher. Because folks, the last thing you want is your Google Ads account getting banned. Once your ads account getting banned, getting it unbanned is quite impossible. And a lot of people have tried that. If you don't believe me, go to some of those Facebook groups where they say my account is banned. I want to buy another person's account. And they've tried a lot of different things, and they've not been able to recover, right? And I know this from reading those Facebook groups. I haven't had any customer who was banned because of our actions, so I really don't know what goes on to recovering an account. Sometimes Google will review and it will give you, an opportunity to kind of, claim and fix things. But yeah, you can change credit cards, you can change office address, you can change domain names, or somehow or the other, Google figures it out. I do not know how, but they do. That's what my main takeaway was from reading through some of those Facebook groups a year or 2 years ago, where people, there's a secondary market for selling Google Ads account because of this reason. Because once you get banned, you cannot get unbanned. So the only way around it is, what I understood was, to go buy an existing Google Ads account, and then you'd be able to sell it over. So you change the address and things like that, and you kind of, the seller, step away and let that person deal with it. But folks, I am not recommending you do that, right? I'm just highlighting information, what's going on. I want you to stay on the right side of the law, right side of the policy, right side of the rules. And I want you to kind of keep your existing Google Ads account. You don't want to spend money and pay someone else to give you an ad account, and it's not worth it. Trust me. Okay. The other thing is, this is something in the, obviously, as soon as it was announced, I covered it in our social media and LinkedIn page and things like this. So you obviously, there's a reason for you should always follow us besides this podcast. If you're listening to it, obviously it's easy to find us, which is marketandgrow.com. And if you're at the bottom of the page, there are links to our LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever. But keeping that aside, Google released Ad Transparency Center, and I was super excited. Like, there were third-party solutions that would charge me like about $20, $30 a month to see what ads my competitors or certain company was running. And now Google kind of leveled the playing field and says, we're going to launch an Ad Transparency Center. This is similar to what Facebook has, Facebook's ad library, right? Where you can go in and say, this business, what are the ads they're running, where are they running, what are the things like that. And that is exactly what Ad Transparency Center is. Now it basically gives you a better idea of what your competitor is doing. Of course, your competitor can also kind of spy on you. So it goes both ways, but it's good. It's great to do market research, do stuff. Now, again, this is rolling out slowly to all global users. So you may or may not see it in your account yet, but don't be discouraged. Go back and check it. Again, Google has, I would say, millions, if not billions of users. So it does take, the rollouts of something like this takes time. And the link to the Transparency Center is in my show notes. Please go take a look over there if you really want to. But I think it's adstransparency.google.com. It's some combination of that. I just do not remember exactly. So I apologize in advance for that. But it is there. It's exciting. Please, if you're in the Google ad space, definitely, check it out. And this reminds me another thing. When Facebook launched hey, for $14 a month or $13 a month, you can verify your profile. Overnight, a lot of businesses that used to charge $30,000 per profile verification, they went out of business, right? And I know this for a fact because I was in a clubhouse room 2 weeks ago, and this guy says, "Oh, our main business was charging people $30,000 to verify their Facebook profile, and now that Facebook rolled out this $13 program, our just business evaporated overnight," right? So this kind of things happen, right? Things happen, like, for example, with Ads Transparency, there were a lot of companies that were charging $30 a month to kind of show you a list of companies or all the ads that your competitors are running. They're going to be out of business. That's how fast businesses can hit you, right? How fast the things can change in your business. So I want you to, if you're listening to this, you are actually doing yourself and your business justice by staying ahead of the curve, by staying on top of the news and staying ahead of the on top of the trends. Okay, enough of self-promotion. Let's go back to the other updates. Now, Google has announced that the March 2023 broad core update has finished rolling out. I had covered this when the update was rolled out or when it was announced. So it took about 13 days for the completion, the whole algorithm rollout. Again, this algorithm update touches and affects all types of content across all region, all languages. So it's a global update, and if you were hit by it, which you know if you're looking at your data, which is Search Console and Google Analytics, Then there is a Google Score update advice. You can click on the link on our show notes page, and it will take you there, and you can go through it. There's just too many things to happens. Like, first of all, you need to see that your traffic dropped because of this update, right? And in fact, there is the last update, which is there is, in fact, hold on, I will cover how you can kind of analyze some of the stuff. Google has actually released some information. It's coming out in about 2 or so minutes. Keep listening. Okay, that's all I can say. Okay, with that, let's move on to the next update. Google Search Console has a new report that breaks out merchant listings and product snippet reporting. It's really, really good in terms of data. Again, you need to look at the data. Only then you will know what's happening to your business. Are you showing up more on product snippets? Are you showing up more on merchant listing? If so, which one is working better for you? Things like that. And it all starts with structured metadata. Obviously, you need to have Google Merchant feed. That's another point. But you need to have structured data, because if you don't have structured data, a lot of these things you don't get picked up and don't get reach. If you don't have structured data, you don't get picked up. If you don't get picked up, you don't get seen. And if you don't get seen, people don't discover the product and services that you're offering. And if you don't have that, how are the customers going to find you? Right? It's quite easy, but a lot of people miss that, and they kind of try to go and say, oh, I'm not getting any sales. So, there are a lot of things you can do from an organic SEO standpoint that you should do first. Those are the basics, the low-hanging fruit. And organic is a long game, right? You can change things, and it may take 2 to 6 weeks for the Google to pick up your changes, to index you, to rank you. But in the meantime, you still need traffic, and that's where you go the paid game. So anyway, Google Search Console report now, if this is applicable to e-commerce sellers, people who have an e-commerce business and actually have Google Search Console, have merchant listings, can actually see what's happening, where are they showing up, their products are showing up, and what's happening, and how much traction they're getting, and what changes they need to make, right? Maybe change the image, maybe change the price. I don't know. I mean, I'm just making guesses here, but I think you get the idea. Okay. Now, this is the last update. This is what I was alluding to 2 updates back, which is Google has published, Google's actually search advocate, Daniel Weisberg, has published about a 7 or so minute video on YouTube from Google's search console page, or Search Insights YouTube channel, giving you an overview of what are some of the reasons why your organic traffic can drop, like such as technical issues, manual actions, algorithm updates, like we just covered, right? Broad core update, March 2023 broad core update, search interest disruption, seasonality, things like that, right? Or reporting glitches. Sometimes Google does go through that. I just purposely don't cover that, just because those are like certain blips. It's gonna suddenly, you'll see a drop or a spike, and then it's gonna kind of level out. So he touches on some of the stuff. You can, I believe, I'm looking at the show notes, and I believe I have put the link to that video. Yes, I have in the show notes. You can watch his video. It's like 6 or 7 minutes, but I'm kind of covering the gist of what's he shared. Okay, so that's there. And then he's saying, to understand the root cause of your traffic drop or fluctuations, you need to perform the following steps. Number 1, obviously, you have to log into Google Search Console. If you don't do that, if you don't have Google Search Console, I cannot help you. Then, obviously, Google Search Console can go only 16 months prior. So last 16 months. So you should actually look at the data from the last 16 months, and you compare the patterns and the trends. Now, ideally, you want to periodically export and store your data every month, so that the data is there. So you could move it to BigQuery. Google is kind of nudging it directly or indirectly into using BigQuery. It's their product. It's a paid product, right? Because you pay for storage. Or you could download it into an Excel file. But basically, ideally, you want to kind of continue to kind of report it, because you can only go last 16 months, and find and compare the 2 periods. Like, compare the drop period to a similar period. So let's say you had a drop this week or last week. You want to see what happened March 2022. Is it something that happens every March because that's seasonality, or is this something that's happening only this year but didn't happen last year? Now, again, if you had older data, you could go look in 2021, 2020, 2019. But if you don't have the data, you don't have anything to compare it against. So this is where monitoring and gathering the data, storing the data, and using the data for future analysis helps, because If it happens every March, then you would be like, you know what, this is normal in our business. But if it's not, it just happened now, and we know you're listening to this show and you know that March 2023 broad core update has just come out, then that might sense that you might got hit by these things. Then obviously you want to say, did we get any manual actions? Let's look at our core web vitals. Let's look at our pages. So there's a bunch of things. You could also compare the keywords that we're showing for last year, the year before that, and plethora of actions that you can do. And I hope you, the business owner, is not going to do that. I'm just giving you ideas, because this is where you either have your team do this for you, or you kind of get an expert to do this for you. Because if you're doing it, then who's running your business? Right. The other thing you can do was also analyze the trends within your industry or country to identify changes in user behavior of competing products. Right. That's very good, which is Google Trends. And then you want to segment the data by country or category for more relevant insights into your website audience. So again, this is where Google Analytics comes into play and kind of gives you a better, more granular data. And then you got to look at the queries driving traffic to your site, right? Again, search query data. Now Google doesn't publish a lot of the search queries, but does enough for you to kind of, extrapolate information as to, okay, this is right in the right direction, this is not in the right directions, and so forth. So, folks, like I was saying, that, there's a lot of things you can do. Just this whole, suddenly there is a dip on your site. Say you are getting 5,000 visitors a day and now it drops to, let's say, 3,000. That's a big dip if you lost 2,000. Now it could be like you lost 2,000 because of the bot are not reaching your sites. They've been filtered out. Or it could be you got hit by organic or algorithm update, like the March 2023 broad core update, right? You need to figure that out. If not, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, we kind of talked about it where, some guy had his, he was earning his living from his website in the UK, and then suddenly his organic traffic dropped, and he can no longer make enough money from his website, and his livelihood is at stake. But just because he makes income through the referral traffic or selling products, he really cannot afford to spend money on the paid ads, because then he would not be profitable anymore. So it's a long story, right? You could find reasons to say, hey, it doesn't apply to me, or you could say, you know what, it applies. I rather take a proactive approach and invest in this area and kind of stay ahead of the curve. Like, it's like buying business insurance, right? You don't need it every day, but you want to be protected, because the day you need it, accidents can happen anytime, and you want to make sure that if in the event it happens, you are well protected. Okay, folks? With that, that's it for this week in marketing. Now you know everything to be in the know. Your host, Sajid Islam, signing off. Until next week. Take care. Bye-bye.